Welcome to the Idiot's Guide. I'm Mackie Hall, and recently we did a couple pieces on neon. The first piece we did introduced the concept of doubling up, while the second piece we did introduced the use of attributes to create editable neon and other type styles. This go around, we're going to show you how to build a completed neon piece. In particular, we're going to show you how to build neon art from an actual picture. Let's do a quick rewind and show you how to build neon through doubling up. Once you have the shape, either type or art, you do the following in your appearance window. Add the stroke, set the width, then select the stroke color. Add 5 more strokes. Note that each new stroke keeps the width and color of the stroke made before it. Change the color of the top stroke to white and set to 75% opacity. Add the Gaussian blur effect to the second stroke, then set the blur to 1/2 the stroke width. For each layer below, add the Gaussian blur effect and double the blur from the layer above it. For example, if the second layer has a blur of 3, the third layer will have a blur of 6, the fourth layer will double to 12, the fifth layer will double to 24, and then the sixth will double to 48. Creating a neon sign is going to be a 3-step process. The first step is going to be creating the art. The second is going to be creating the type above and below the image. And then the third step is going to be creating the circular curves around each side of the image. Let's not talk anymore. Let's get started. Before we get started, I want to remind you that we're using the Essentials layout. To switch to the Essentials layout, go to the top right of your screen, select Essentials, and you're all set. I also want to remind you that we're using Smart Guides. To enable Smart Guides, select View, Smart Guides, or Control U. Finally, note that on the bottom of the page we'll be adding tips and tricks as well as key command recommendations. All right, let's get started. Let's create a new document. Our new document will have a width of 1,000 points, height of 1,000 points, single artboard, and the RGB color mode. First thing we'll do is we will select our rectangle tool. We'll drag from the top left corner all the way down to the bottom right corner. We'll select a black fill and a transparent stroke. Next, we'll select Object, Lock, Selection. We do that to give ourselves a black background that cannot be moved or changed. Note that I'll be switching to my neon template here. Note that at the top left of the page, I've got 3 color swatches already set. They're bright orange, bright pink, and of course, neon green. Each has the respective color code beneath it. That'll come in handy as we develop our piece. Feel free to add this swatch on your page as well. The first thing we're going to do is create neon art from an actual JPEG image. We'll do that by finding the image that we want to use. Note the URL. It does exist at that URL. It's ccinema.com/images/ice cream. Once this image is up, you want to right-click on your image and select Copy Image. Next, you'll go back to Illustrator, and you can paste your image on screen. Note how much bigger the image is than the actual artboard. Let's scale that down to 25%. We'll do that by selecting our Scale tool, double-clicking it, and entering 25%. Once done with that, we'll vertically and horizontally align just to make sure that it's exactly in center. Once done with that, we'll select our pen tool and we'll draw a very simple outline of our piece. We'll start with our cone. We'll zoom in on our cone. Then note how simply I'm drawing, and I'm just drawing a simple outline of it. Once I've got my outline drawn, I'm going to swap to a transparent fill, and let's go with a bright red stroke so we can see it against the background. We'll deselect, and we'll do the same thing with our actual ice cream. Note how simple we're being here. We're not trying to be exact. We're just drawing a very simple outline. For a tutorial on how to use the pen tool, please refer to my previous video, which will be located at the bottom of the page. Once we're done with that, we'll grab our Select tool, select our image, and delete. Once we've completed that, we are going to open up our appearance window. If you don't have it open like I do right here, all you need to do is go to Window, Appearance, or select Shift F6. Let's start adding our color. Initial sketch for our neon art, we're going to grab our select tool, select our image. Once done with that, we'll select our direct select tool, and notice if we zoom in on the bottom of our cone here, we get our corner bevel point. All we need to do is click and drag that in to give ourselves a simple curve. Let's bring the whole page back into view, and let's start coloring our piece. We'll grab our select tool, again select our cone, and we'll open up our appearance window. If your appearance window is not open, all you need to do is select Window, Appearance, or Shift F6. Once our appearance window is open and our cone is selected, we'll start the process of doubling up. The next thing we'll do is we'll select our stroke, hold our Shift key, and click on our stroke. This allows us to enter a custom color. Once that's up, let's enter the orange of the cone. Again, that is E88A03. Once that's done, we're going to increase the stroke to 6 points. After we complete that, let's click on our stroke, and let's select round cap and round corner. Once we're done with that, we're going to add 5 more strokes to start the process of neon. Once those are added, we're going to select our top stroke, and we're going to change our top stroke to white. We'll then open up our top stroke and change the opacity to 75. Let's add neon. We'll select our next stroke, select Effects, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and we'll set the radius to half our stroke width. In this case, the radius will be 3 points or 3 pixels. We'll go to the stroke beneath it. Again, we'll add the blur, and we'll double it up from there. We'll continue to do that all the way through our piece. We'll deselect our piece, and we are all set with our cone. Let's do the same thing with our ice cream. This time, we'll change the color to pink. Once again, we'll select our element. We'll select our stroke, hold the Shift key to select custom color, and enter in our desired color. In this case, the custom color will be F800FF. Next, we'll increase the stroke to 6 points. We'll select our stroke, and once again, select round cap and round corner. Once done with that, we again will add 5 more strokes beneath our original stroke. We'll go back to the top stroke, change our stroke color to white. We'll then select our stroke and change the opacity to 75%. Let's add our blur effect once again. Once again, our blur radius will be half the stroke radius. So again, this will be 3 pixels or 3 points. And we'll double up from there. Let's deselect our ice cream, and we are all set with our image. Notice how easy it is to create a neon image from an actual image. The image doesn't have to be exact, it just has to be a representation of what you're wanting to show. Now that we're done with that, let's add our type on path. We'll do that by selecting our ellipse tool, and then clicking anywhere on our artboard. We'll set our ellipse size to 600 by 600 points. We'll center it vertically and horizontally. And just for kicks, let's change our stroke color to white. Once we're done with that, we're going to use type on path to add our text. Before we get started with that, we need to create two open paths, one for our top type and the next for our bottom type. Let's get started with that. We'll select our ellipse, copy and paste in front, and then hold our shift key and arrow it to the right about 6 times. Once we're done with that, we're going to grab our direct select tool and we will select on our left one. And with our direct select tool, we'll select our bottom anchor point. We'll delete that. Notice that deletes the bottom half of our ellipse. And from our second circle or ellipse, we'll drag across our topmost anchor point and delete that as well. Once we've got that, we want to click and hold our type tool, and let's select type on path. Once we've done that, we want to go to our bottom left-hand corner of our piece and click on that. Once we've selected that, let's change our stroke to white and our fill to transparent. Once we're done with that, let's enter next level. We'll select all and center our type. Once we're done with that, let's select Arial as our type. And let's increase the type size to 90. Next, we'll bring up our type tool and let's change to all caps from the top right menu. Let's deselect, and you can see what we've done, but we're not done quite yet. Let's select our type one more time, and let's double click on our type on path, and we'll keep all the settings the same except for align to path. Let's select to center. Let's select preview, and you can see how that type drops down a little bit. We'll select OK. We'll then increase our tracking on our type to 50 just to stretch it out just a little bit. Once we like that, let's change our stroke to a fill. Let's do the same thing with our bottom type. Once again, we'll grab our select tool, we'll select that, we'll grab our type on path tool, and we'll click on our top left corner. Let's change our fill to white and our stroke to transparent. And let's write neon sign. Once we've completed that, let's double click on our type on path. Let's select preview. Let's select flip, and then let's select align to path at center. There we go. Grab our select tool and we'll deselect. Next thing we'll do is we'll select our bottom path, click on that, change to outlines so that we can see where our paths are. If you don't know how to do that, select Control Y, then hold your Shift key and arrow to the left until each half of the ellipse matches. We'll deselect, we'll leave outlines, Control Y again, and we've got our type in the proper position. Note that all of our type preferences for our bottom type matched the type preferences that we had set for our top type. If they do not, just remember Arial 90 points in size with tracking set to 50. Let's make our type look like a little bit of neon. We'll select our top type. We're going to right click on it, select Create Outlines. Once we've got that selected, let's grab our direct select tool and notice that when we do it, all of our round bevel points appear throughout our piece. And let's zoom in on any part of it. For this case, I'm going to zoom in on our N. Once I've got that, I'm going to select any of the bevel points and I'm going to drag it all the way to round. I'll deselect. I'll bring my entire artboard into view. And I will do the same thing with our bottom side. Again, I'll select it, I'll right click, create outlines, make sure the direct selection tool is set, and then I'm going to zoom in to my N. Once there, I'm grabbing the bevel points, pulling them all the way in to round. Let's bring the entire artboard into view, and there we go. Note that my neon type is a little bit thicker than what it needs to be. Let's fix that quickly. We'll select our type, click on our appearance window, then select Effects. Let's go to Path, select Offset Path. and change our offset path to -1. You can do that by hitting your up and down directional key until you get the thickness that you desire. In this case, -1 works just fine. Click OK, and let's do the same thing for our bottom type. Once again, we select it, select Effects, Path, Offset Path, and let's bring that all the way down to -1. Once we're done with that, let's add our curves to the outside of our sign. Select our ellipse tool, click anywhere on our artboard, and again create an ellipse that's 600 points wide and 600 points tall. Once set, let's center it vertically and let's center it horizontally. Let's set a transparent fill and a white stroke, just like that. Once we've got that set, let's change our stroke width to 46 points. And then let's select Object, Path, Outline Stroke. That changes our stroke to a filled shape. Once set with that, let's change our fill to a stroke. And let's increase our stroke width to 6 points. Once that's done, let's go back to our Appearance panel. Let's select our stroke, and let's ensure that we've got round caps and round corners. Let's grab our selection tool and click anywhere on our page. Notice that we've got our ellipse running over our type. We'll fix that by trimming the stroke away from the type. Here's how we do it. We're going to select our pen tool. We're going to click and hold our pen tool, and we'll select Add Anchor Point tool. From here, we're going to hover over our ellipse until we intersect, and then at points on our ellipse around our type, we'll click to add anchor points where we want to trim. Note that it doesn't have to be exact. Anything with neon is an approximation. Once we're done with that, let's grab our Direct Select tool, and let's click and delete the top and bottom anchor points of each ellipse. Note that we've still got a bit of work to do around our outside ellipse. Let's delete the top and bottommost anchor points again. Let's grab our selection tool and deselect. Now we're going to take a different approach with our ellipse and our type. Because we want to adjust them both at the same time, let's change our strokes to a filled shape. Here's how we do it. With our selection tool selected, we're going to drag across our ellipse. Notice that they are grouped together. We'll go Object, Expand. Again, this changes our stroke to filled shapes. Now that we've done that, let's select both types. We're going to hold the Shift key down to do that, and select our ellipse curves, and let's group them together. You can do that by going to Object, Group, or selecting Control-G. Once we've got our group selected, let's change the color before we start doubling up. Let's select Add New Fill. We'll hold our Shift key and select our fill. And let's add the custom color that we want in there once again. In this case, our color is 03E803. Once we've got that change made, let's add 5 more fills and get started with the process of doubling up. Once we've added 5 more fills, let's select our topmost fill color and change it to white. Then change the fill opacity to 75%. Let's double it up. Let's select our second fill, select Effects, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Once again, our blur thickness will be half that of our original stroke. Once again, that'll be 3 pixels. And let's double up from there. Once done with that, let's be sure our selection tool is selected, and let's click anywhere on screen to deselect. We're just about done. We've got just 2 more steps. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Outlines, and let's select our ice cream and our cone. We can do this by dragging across all 3 elements. Let's exit Outlines. Let's group it together. And then let's rotate it just a little bit. We'll select our rotation tool, and let's change the angle to negative 22.5. Once done with that, let's grab our selection tool one more time. Let's drag across our entire piece. Let's group it together. Let's make sure that we're centered vertically and horizontally. Deselect, and we are done. So there you go. I think that's my final word on neon art. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, throw me a like. I'd really appreciate that. As usual, I'd really appreciate it even more if you subscribed. We'll see you next time. See you.